Okay, so I kind of slept in this for about a week, almost 2 weeks actually. Square showed off new footage for the Final Fantasy VII remake, specifically the bombing mission, which of course is about the beginning of the game. And as awesome as it looked, a few things are a little off about it. For one thing, a lot of people complained that the game looked a bit linear, considering it was the bombing mission, you only go straight from the train itself, straight to the Sector 1 reactor, and then off to Tifa's bar. That's fine, but still, what we was shown, Cloud walking through a narrow street and then going through some debris, all that looked really cool, but again, it just looked like there wasn't enough there. Also, there was the fact that has a lot of people concerned is that the game seems to be an action RPG rather than being turn-based like it originally was, or like the first, well, 14 games in the series are. Now, people are a little divided on that. Some people like the action RPG approach Square is taking, others don't. Personally, I don't like it. I would rather the remake stay true to the original concept the 1997 game was. I mean, a lot of people said from the beginning that if Square did a remake for Final Fantasy VII, they would probably ruin it by doing several really bad things. And already, two things have popped up that Square's doing that are pretty questionable. For one thing, again, the action RPG thing, I'm not a fan of it. I mean, I don't hate action RPGs. I'm a huge fan of the Kingdom Hearts series and its gameplay, but for Final Fantasy, I don't think it should be an action RPG. Except, I guess, Final Fantasy 15, but that was always going to be an action RPG from the start. When it was still Versus 13, Square set out from the start, with the Kingdom Hearts team, as a matter of fact, to make Versus 13 into an action RPG. So that could be excused a little bit, since that's what it was from the start. But as for earlier games in the series that were turn-based, I don't think Square should change that. For one thing, again, talking about Square ruining the remake, if they ever actually tried to do this, it really ruins, in my opinion, or rather, let me rephrase that, it distorts the appeal of the original game. Not many people had played turn-based RPGs or RPGs in general until Final Fantasy VII came around. And when it did, people were introduced to that genre to begin with, the Japanese role-playing game, or just even a turn-based role-playing game. So you have other games like Final Fantasy Tactics that came out a year later, or not exactly the same thing, but say the Command and Conquer series, which is more of a RTS to begin with. But still, you're sitting there taking turns, giving directions to all your troops, sending them out to different locations. That's still the same basic idea. And to change that, is not really staying true to the Final Fantasy VII spirit. For one thing, Square has already confirmed. The reason it's sort of a concern for a lot of people, and myself included, is that Square has already confirmed that they're going to change quite a few things, or at least some small things, with the remake. They've already confirmed that there are going to be things that we're taken out of the remake. They haven't said what, but we are losing a few things. And considering that this is going to be an action RPG, I guess we're going to lose things like, say, manipulate materia or cover materia. For those of you who don't know, manipulate materia allowed you to control an enemy and dictate their moves in battle, and cover materia allowed the person who was equipped with it to tank damage that enemies are sending to the other characters. So say you put the cover materia on Cloud, he would automatically intercept attacks sent to Tifa or Barrett and take the damage for them. And really, that's a good strategy. Especially if you're working on a particular strategy, have someone heal the tank, and then have someone else keep pounding away at enemies with attacks or status elements or what have you. And that's really one of the big appeals about turn-based RPGs, having that strategy in there. And turning it into an action RPG, I think, is not in the best interest of the Final Fantasy VII remake. Again, I don't hate action RPGs. Like I said earlier, I'm a big fan of the Kingdom Hearts series. But to me, there's no strategy in it. I mean, really, what an action RPG boils down to is just attack, dodge, and then attack again, and maybe throw a few spells in there. Like if you're familiar with Fable, or again Kingdom Hearts, or maybe even Devil May Cry, that's not an action RPG, but it is a hack and slash action game. All you can do is dodge attacks and strike back when you get a chance. And again, very obviously, as long as the game is fun, the gameplay stuff doesn't matter. But what I'm getting at is that taking away that strategy element from Final Fantasy VII just distorts the original image of the game. It's not the same. That's already one source of contention for a lot of people, myself included, that they are flat out changing. Another thing that Square is changing. Well, I guess this isn't considered really a change, but it is something that's a bit worrisome. They're going to release the Final Fantasy VII Remake in parts, which is utterly confusing. It doesn't make sense to release the game in parts since, well, there's no reason to do it. Okay, according to Square, the reason they're doing this is because they would have to cut content from the game if they were going to release it in one single package, which once more does not make sense. Basically, they're saying they're releasing the game in parts so they don't have to cut content, so they keep everything in it. Otherwise, if they try to release the remake in one single package, just one single disc-based $60 game, then they would have to condense everything and cut out entire chunks of the game, which is an absolutely ludicrous claim. I mean, if you're sitting down and very meticulously constructing the game, crafting it from the ground up, what would you have to cut? It's not like you're rushing the game out there like Sonic 06 all those years ago, where they couldn't test the game enough, they couldn't find the bugs and glitches in the game. They slapped the game together. They slapped the game together, Sonic 06, and then push it out for 2 next-gen systems, PS3 and 360, and it was just an utter clusterfuck. It didn't work right. The story was bad. About the only good thing people said about the game was the music, which is somewhat par for the course for a Sonic game, but that's beside the point. Sega rushed the game because they wanted to get it out there in time for, I believe it was Sonic's 15th anniversary. And Square releasing the Final Fantasy VII Remake in parts kind of reeks of the same thing to me, the same sort of desperation. Now what I'm getting at here is that I think the reason Square is doing this, releasing the game in parts, is not because they're money grubbing, not because they want money from people. Well, of course they want money from people. I mean, they're not giving away the game for free. But what I mean is, Square is kind of riding on this very high note right now. Final Fantasy 15 is coming out soon. We finally got Final Fantasy Type 0 after so many years. Kingdom Hearts 3 is finally being made, and the Final Fantasy VII Remake is around the corner. So Square has earned back a lot of trust and admiration from fans, and they're riding high right now, and they want to keep that high going. They want to make sure they can still keep their fans around, and one of the ways they're doing this is by, honestly, I think they're rushing the remake. They're saying they're releasing in parts so they don't have to cut anything out, so they can keep everything in there included. But, well, they've already admitted they're cutting stuff out of the game. That's probably because they're changing the gameplay of it. Like I just said, cover materia, manipulate materia, possibly enemies. Well, enemy skill material is probably still gonna be in there, but they're probably gonna have to modify it a little bit. But it's just kind of the things that they're gonna have to change for being action RPG. Like I said, I'm not really in favor of that. Like for instance, how is the fight against Ultimate Weapon gonna run? You're in the airship, you're flying around the world map trying to find Ultimate Weapon, and I feel those fights are done in the air on the airship. You're sitting on the deck of the airship fighting it. So how's that going to work in an action RPG environment? I mean, I guess you can keep using ranged material like Fire 3 or Firaga now, actually. I guess you can keep using ranged attacks, but for Cloud? I mean, it doesn't really make sense. And I mean, I guess I have to wait and see how they're going to change that. But trying to fit all that into an action RPG standard is going to be a little weird. Or even, say, fighting Emerald Weapon underwater. I mean, yeah, it's a fantasy game. Being underwater itself doesn't really matter or make sense logically. I mean, how can they do anything they can underwater? But again, in an action RPG standard, it's going to be a little weird. Are we going to swim around fighting Emerald Weapon? I mean, that'll be interesting, but I mean, that's kind of what they're going to have to go for, unless everyone's just going to stay rooted to the ground and fight Emerald Weapon that way. I'm just not for it, and getting back to what I'm saying before, Square is kind of rushing. They're not admitting they're rushing it, but they are rushing it. And they're rushing it because, again, they want to make sure they keep fans enthralled, which could end up backfiring, honestly. If they release Final Fantasy VII in parts, and who knows how long is going to be in between each part. Like, we're going to get part 1 at some point, and then how long? Forget the cost of it. How long is it going to be between part 1 of the game and part 2, and how long is it going to be actually? I mean, as far as anyone can tell, as far as anyone's, well, let's hope against this. For instance, like the first section of the game the Square is going to release is going to be just the bombing mission, and who's going to want that? I mean, no one's going to want to play the bombing mission. Get off the train, go to the Sector 1 reactor, blow it up, fight Guard Scorpion, and then go to Tifa's bar, and then it ends right before you get to Tifa's bar. No one's going to want that. I mean, people are going to want to get the game in hand and marathon it from the start to the end. They're going to get off that train and not stop playing the game until they defeat Sephiroth. And that's what everyone wants, honestly. I mean, you can do the side quests all you want, you can explore all you want, you can trophy hunt all you want, but the majority of people are going to want to play that game from beginning to end non-stop, and releasing it in parts is just not going to allow that. Not unless you want to wait till everything is released and play everything all together, which, honestly, I might do. I mean, I want to play the game from beginning to end. I want to see how this thing's... I really want to see how this is going to play out, really, in the grand scheme of things, but... releasing in parts is just a big mistake, I think. People are going to lose interest, I think. Especially people who are new to the series, or maybe who never played Final Fantasy VII to begin with. Maybe they're playing for the first time with the remake. But, again, in parts, they're going to come off on this big high, they're going to be exhilarated as hell, finishing the bombing mission, getting ready to go to 7th Heaven, Tifa's bar, and then maybe it'll stop there. Which it would be weird to do that, to stop it right there. Well, no, actually it would make sense to do that. That first big section of the game, the big exciting moment, finish. End of part 1, wait for part 2 to come, who knows when. It's just weird they're doing this. And Square saying that they're cutting the game into parts because they want to make sure everything that they want to craft for the game stays in the game. If they had to release it in one big package, that is one complete game, they would have to cut a bunch of stuff out. Which, and I'll say it again, that doesn't make any sense. Why would you have to cut a bunch of stuff out if you're sitting there slowly crafting the game piece by piece meticulously? You're going constructing Midgar, constructing the world map, Calm, the next big place you go to, Junin, the underwater reactor, the ocean itself, the Temple of the Ancients, all that being crafted meticulously to the finest detail, making it perfect. Not rushing the game out, not trying to say, yeah, we're going to put the whole game into one package, and we're going to get it to you as soon as we can, and then you just having to, again, rush the game, maybe turning it into a linear experience in order to get it out there, in order to appease people, and that's really what Square is doing. They're cutting the game into chunks and getting it out as soon as possible. They even said they wanted to get it out as soon as possible to fans, which tells me, again, that they're rushing the game. But Square is putting the game out there as soon as possible, as soon as possible, because they want to give it to fans as soon as they can. They wanted to make sure fans can play it as soon as possible, which, as I said before, is a result of Square going off this big high they have, this high note, rather. Fans are liking them again. They're getting people back. They fucked up big time last generation. 4 relative flops in a row. The Final Fantasy 13 games didn't do what Square wanted. Final Fantasy 14 had kind of a lame launch, but now everything's on track again. Again, the remake for Final Fantasy 7 is coming. Kingdom Hearts 3 is around the corner. Final Fantasy 15 is around the corner. They relaunched Final Fantasy 14 and improved it, and again we got Final Fantasy Type 0 after so many years. So things are going good for Square. They want to keep that going, which is why, very obviously, they're trying to cut the game into parts and then put it out there as soon as possible, which is a bad idea. I think it's a really bad idea. Now, to get a better understanding of what Square is doing, I actually have an interview in front of me right here that Square gave to Famitsu. It's on the website Gematsu, so if you want to look it up yourself, you can probably just type in Gematsu and then Final Fantasy VII Remake. It gives a pretty good idea of what they're aiming for. Few more details, so we get a better understanding of exactly what we're facing here with this remake. So I'm just going to read the article here for a second on Gematsu, and then give my thoughts on it every so often. Uh, New information on Final Fantasy VII Remake has come out of new interviews with producer Yoshinori Kitase and director Tetsuya Nomura, published by Famitsu and Dengeki Online. But first, if you missed it, watch the debut game. Okay, well, let's not worry about that. There's a link to the trailer for the I guess the bombing mission on the website. So let's not worry about that for a second. Let's again go back to the rest of the article. The official title is Final Fantasy VII Remake. According to Kitase and Nomura, there were plans to attach a subtitle that relates to the story, but they didn't want to give off the impression that it was a spin-off or a sequel. I mean, as long as you make everyone know that it is a remake, like Final Fantasy VII New Chapter, something like that. I mean, as long as you make sure people know it's a remake, like keep putting that in the titles. Final Fantasy VII comes back, remake, all new experience, yada yada. I mean, even if you put a subtitle on it people will still get the impression that, oh, it's a remake. That Final Fantasy VII game that came out way back when. As long as you do that, I think people will understand. I get where they're coming from, saying that they don't want to confuse people, but I don't think it's a big deal, personally. Kitase added that before they debuted the new trailer at PlayStation Experience 2015, they showed some of the reactions from the E3 2015 teaser trailer, and everyone's excitement reached its highest when the word remake appeared on screen. Real quick, in case you're wondering, I don't know if you remember or even knew, I think it was last year, when Square announced they were porting Final Fantasy VII over to PS4, it was going to be the original version of the game over to PS4. And that got people riled up because they were a little upset over the fact that Square kind of trolled everyone, having this big thing on screen. Final Fantasy VII comes or returns to PS4. People were excited. They thought it was going to be the remake, and then it turns out it was just a trailer for the original PlayStation port, which that really bothered everyone. But according to Square, they said they were actually working on the remake about a year before they made that announcement. So about 2013. They started working on the remake. 2014 comes around. They announced they're porting the original version to PS4. By that time, they already had a full year's head start. And then later on, at E3, E3 of this year, 2015, they officially announced the remix. That gives them about 2 years, really, of head start on the work on the game. 2 years full head start. So they obviously all the stuff going forward they had in mind. So that works. One of the main reasons Square Enix hasn't remade Final Fantasy VII up until now is because it's a massive undertaking to construct it from the ground up with current technology, according to Kitase. Okay, now see, that right there I have to disagree with. I mean, considering developers everywhere really have been saying that the PS4 is so much easier to develop for, it really shouldn't have been a problem. I mean, obviously you can't just remake the game in like a single month or something. With the advances in technology, that's not the case. But to say that it's going to take so much time and effort, I just think is not entirely true. Or then again, maybe it is. I mean, they're releasing the game in parts, so I don't know. A proper HD remake that maintains the same feeling of density of the original wouldn't fit into a single installment. I've already told you what I feel about that. Nomura adds that in the case of a single installment, content would have to be cut and the result would be a condensed version of the game. But with this method, players will be able to explore many different areas of Midgard that they couldn't in the original. While parts may also be cut from the original, Nomura promises that overall the amount of content is only going to increase. Yeah, like I said, right there, they confirmed the cutting stuff out of the game. Again, what I'm thinking of, since they're modifying the gameplay, I mentioned before, like manipulate material or cover material are two things that are probably going to have to be ditched, which is very disappointing. I said before, I love the strategy of Final Fantasy VII, and while I don't hate action RPGs, I do think it's not the right way to go for the remake. Character models are supervised by the director at Visual Works, Roberto Ferrari. Roberto Ferrari is doing sub-character designs such as Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse. CyberConnect 2, if you don't know who CyberConnect 2 is, they're the ones who are responsible for the Naruto Ultimate Ninja games from PS2 all the way to PS3. They also worked on the Dot Hack games way back on PS2. I never got to play those, but I've always wanted to. I always wanted to play those games. CyberConnect 2 is one of Square Enix's external partners on the project. Kitase says that in this day and age, it has become a common production technique to collaborate with a number of companies. He compliments CyberConnect 2 for the action game experience and know-how, as well as video production. However, Square Enix is keeping close with CyberConnect 2 as the production tastes different from that of Square Enix. Nomura was annoyed by the direction of the new trailer, and apparently he laughs here. So Square Enix brought it closer to the company's style of the new trailer. Well, I guess that must mean the gameplay trailer that showed off for the bombing mission. The models from Final Fantasy VII Advent Children are not being used, as they're more than 10 years old at this point. Yeah, that's to be expected. I mean, I actually took a look at Advent Children a little while ago, too. I actually have the Blu-ray for it. 10, 11 years later, the movie still looks very good. I mean, it is astounding how that came out years ago, over 10 years ago, and it still looks very, very nice. But yeah, that is 10-year-old technology, so you're gonna want to use something better. I'm not at all bothered by that, but well, actually, I don't even know whether you have to mention that. I guess some people will imagine that Square would use the Advent Children character models, but they don't have to. They can't really. Again, it's very old technology at this point. This time, rather, they're making adjustments many times over to create a balance between realism and deformity, in the sense that it's unrealistic. Outside of the segments from the teaser trailer, the new trailer is entirely in-game. After the scene at the end where Cloud leaps off the train, the camera pans behind Cloud and gameplay begins. Nomura notes that the quality is still being polished, so let's hope it gets better then. The white-ish and skinny appearance of Cloud is a result of the lighting, according to Nomura. Kazushige Nojima thinks it feels sickly, and that's really good. Not sure what to make of that, honestly. It feels sickly, and that's really good. Well, I suppose he's talking about the atmosphere of Midgar and maybe the reactors themselves. Maybe, I don't know. The scene where Cloud cross-dresses for Don Corneo is included in the scenario, and Nomura still hasn't done the design yet, though. Well, that's good, though. That's another thing I wanted to get to, is that I'm glad that, well, I'm hoping, rather, that all these weird, goofy things are still going to be in the remake, like the cross-dressing scene with Cloud, the date scene, especially if you can get Barrett to do it, or even if you get Tifa, Aerith, or Yuffie to do it. The part of the date scene when you go to and participate in that play, that has to be the goofiest thing I've ever seen in something so serious. I was playing it again on PS4. I came to that part and I was just laughing so much, and I cannot wait to see that in the remake. If you've seen the new character design for Cloud, which is interesting, I kind of like it though. Cloud's hair is kind of swept to the side a bit. It's kind of sort of like this large widow's peak. Not widow's peak. Devil's peak. It's something. If you know what Zexion from Kingdom Hearts looks like, or Davey Havoc if you're an AFI fan, that kind of thing, where the hair kind of sweeps to the side like a bit. That's kind of what Cloud's hair looks like right now. I don't mind it. I think it looks pretty nice, but I am a fan of the the spiky hair he had back in the original game and in Kingdom Hearts 1. If they brought that back, that'd be cool. Or if they could somehow include optional outfits like Cloud's Advent Children outfits just to slap on for a change of pace. That'd be nice. Besides that, though, they were originally going to use Barrett's design from Final Fantasy VII Advent Children, but Nomura wanted to redesign him. Nomura says that from the start he wanted to redesign every character. I should get into that part before I mention Cloud's design. I hope he doesn't, honestly. I don't want every character to be redesigned. For instance, as you may have expected, there have been social justice warriors complaining about Tifa's character design. A lot of people saying that, well, some people saying that Tifa's, yeah, frankly, who can argue her exaggerated chest area has no place in the game. That it means nothing to her character or her character design as a whole. Which, if anyone who has played Final Fantasy VII would know that that's factually wrong. I won't get too deep into it, but Tifa's character design was very deliberate. Tetsuya Nomura designed Tifa and Aerith to intentionally contrast with one another to accentuate that love triangle between them and Cloud. Tifa dresses kind of like a biker chick almost. She wears a short skirt. She wears a midriff bearing top. She has a very large chest. She has dark hair, very long dark hair. Yet Tifa looks like this kind of aggressive chick. She fights with her fists and feet. She punches and kicks all of her enemies. Her fighting style is very aggressive. She looks aggressive, yet Tifa's entire personality is in stark contrast with Aerith. Tifa is very motherly. She's kind. She is just head over heels in love with the Cloud, but just can't spit it out. Hence the name Lockhart, I suppose. And then there's Aerith, who she dresses very conservatively. She has this very long flower dress. She has her hair done up very nicely. She looks very warm and very maybe timid, but yet she's very outgoing. She's very flirty. She can take care of herself. She's lived in the slums ever since she was a child. She can take care of herself, and she was coming on very strongly to Cloud early on in the game. And again, that's the point, though. That's their character designs and personalities were to ironically contrast with themselves as well as with each other. And again, that was the point for the love triangle that develops between them and Cloud. So to say that Tifa's character design has no meaning and has no part in the game is factually wrong. But the fact that Tetsuya Nomura wants to redesign, wanted to, apparently he's not going to, but apparently the fact that he wanted to redesign everyone makes me think what he would have done with Tifa or even Aerith. Would he maybe have changed the character designs a little more and maybe... I will say this. If they put Tifa in maybe shorts in the remake, I probably wouldn't say anything. I mean, considering the fact that apparently you're supposed to be able to switch between characters in between gameplay, even mid-battle, Tifa punches and kicks. Well, unless they give her that kind of outfit she had, the kind of shorts and everything she had in Advent Children for a default outfit in the remake, that's gonna take some very tricky camera movement to keep the camera from like swiveling around and catching her under skirt at inopportune moments. But also that just gives fans, I guess, more reason to play, so more reason to love her. Interesting to know, the people who complained about character design had also noted that since the announcement of the remake, Tifa's fan art for Tifa has exploded since then. There's people like, oh, it's Tifa again. We're gonna see her in HD and everything. We're gonna see her body again. It's gonna be awesome. New fan art. You know, as if fan art ever stopped for Tifa since 1997, since almost 20 years ago. Fan art and hentai even has never stopped for Tifa. So the fact that they're doing a remake and new fan art has exploded means nothing, really. The fan art never stopped. Tifa has become so iconic in gaming that she was never really out of the public eye as far as gaming is concerned. But, you know, I'm not going to get into all of that. I'll talk about that. Maybe I'll talk about that in another video at some point, but I'll continue reading here. Yeah, back to what I was saying I mentioned earlier, the battle system is action-oriented, but is completely different from Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII, and not as strong in action as Dissidia Final Fantasy Arcade or Kingdom Hearts. The battle system is active time battle. However, the ATB gauge doesn't indicate the order of attacks, but rather is its own system unique to Final Fantasy VII Remake. Nomura says Nomura says you should pay particular attention to when the gauge turns red, whatever that means. So, so what does that mean exactly? It's not going to be action oriented like Crisis Core or Dissidia or Kingdom Hearts, but we still have an ATB gauge there. It doesn't dictate the order of attacks. So either it is some sort of turn-based thing where Well, we did say command menu up there. As a matter of fact, if you look at the trailer, the gameplay trailer for the bombing mission, there is a command menu up there, and there still is an ATB gauge of sorts. So I think very obviously it's going to be some sort of hybrid between action and turn-based. Well, and Square did say they didn't exactly like the initial trailer for the bombing mission that came out. So they're going to try and any more trailers that come out, they're going to try to steer that closer to what Square envisions for the game to be presented. So I guess obviously we're gonna have to wait and see what happens. So if in a very roundabout way, Square is saying that it is still gonna be turn based in a way, but it's also gonna be very actiony in a way. I don't know, depending on how it looks, I think this is probably one of the scenarios where we're gonna need a demo to see exactly how this is gonna pan out. I actually think a demo would be a very nice idea. Small thing, maybe just put you out in the world map or something. Maybe they won't go that far into it, and just have you fighting with random encounters and maybe culminate with against the Midgar Zalem, that bastard and a half. A party consists of 3 characters, like in the original, and players can switch freely between them at any time. You don't have to switch characters if you don't want to. That's fine, I suppose. I guess. I'm just gonna miss it though. I enjoy the turn-based scenario where the ATB gauge fills up and I can pick everyone's commands individually. Like how is the death blow materia gonna work? The death blow materia is a special materia that you equip to a character. It's kind of a gamble. Either the attack will hit and it'll cause a critical strike, or it'll miss completely. And this works very well with Vincent and Tifa because both of them have weapon each that ensures 100% accuracy. 100% accuracy, which means that Death Blow will always hit a critical strike if you use that weapon and choose the Death Blow command. That's something that's probably going to be taken out, though. I don't like where it's going. I really don't like where it's going. The battle tempo will be similar to the City of Final Fantasy Arcade. This time, we're only getting a look at the base part of the battle system, but you can switch characters and apply strategies. We'll see. Nomura says it's not just aimlessly striking enemies. Well, good for that. To accomplish such a system, they're recruiting experienced people from Dissidia and Kingdom Hearts to the team. The quality of the latest trailer is just the starting point, according to Nomura. Now that they're able to showcase the direction of the remake, they're moving into polishing. Which is a little weird, considering that this... Well, I'll get to that in a second. Alright, this next part is an actual... Yoshinori Kitase and Tetsuya Nomura being questioned about what's going on in the game. Not too long, thankfully. I've rambled on long enough. Final Fantasy VII Remake is a multi-part series. Please tell us more about this decision. Again, this interview is with Famitsu, and this is translated and published online by Gematsu. And this website, anyway, that I'm reading it from. Kitase. The idea that the remake of Final Fantasy VII would not fit into a single release was there from the very beginning. We still can't share more information about its multiple parts, but please look forward to future announcements. Nomura. If we dedicate our time into a single release, parts of it would become condensed. We'd have to cut some parts, and additional parts would come in few. So rather than remake the game as a full volume, we decided to do multiple parts. Back to Kitase. As you can see in the trailer, we showed Sector 1 and Sector 8, but in those areas alone, I think you can see a lot of density. When you're remaking the entirety of the original version in that quality, it's not possible to fit it all in one release. Now again, I just have to call bullshit on that, because... Why though? If you're sitting down and very meticulously constructing the game, crafting every single part of the game from stone, basically, sitting down, making sure every single detail is as nice as possible, rather than trying to rush the game out there like they're doing, this shouldn't be a problem. How though? This is something that I need clarification on, because this is not making sense to me. I don't know if anyone out there can rationalize this themselves, or maybe if Square Enix actually rationalizes it themselves too. But releasing it in parts so that you don't have to cut out anything, rather than putting everything together in one package, rather than working on it, taking your time and working on it. Like I said, Square is doing this because they want to make sure they can appease fans as much as possible. They even admitted that they want to get the game out there to fans as soon as they can. the fact that they keep insisting that they have to do it in parts, I honestly I have to assume it's a flat out lie, because that can't be the case. It's how will the battle system work? Key to say, rather than a command-based battle ensuing when you encounter an enemy, we're aiming for a seamless active battle as you can see in the trailer. Regarding the battle speed and tempo, for the sake of a stress-free battle, we want to make something on the level of the city of Final Fantasy. As far as the degree of action goes, it's the city of Final Fantasy, then Kingdom Hearts, then Final Fantasy VII Remake. There won't be any actions that require technique. Okay, that bothers me. That require technique, or the technique's being cut out entirely. Well, how Limit Break's gonna work then? Oh shit! I just realized. How is Omni Slash gonna work? Because Omni Slash is it's like a 15 hit attack to multiple enemies on screen. Then there's Catastrophe, Barrett's Ultimate Limit Break, which is also a multi-hit attack. Shit, how is Tifa's Beat Rush Limit Break gonna work? You see what I mean? This is why I'm against it being this action oriented game. We're going to see more of it. They're saying it's not going to be completely action oriented, but I don't see how it's going to work. By using the new system, we want to do action battles while also being able to fight thinking strategically. Balancing tempo for Sega's. Yeah, this part right here, Nomura says that they're trying to make the game stress free, battle wise. They want the combat stress free, but I mean, putting it in an action oriented setting kind of is the epitome of stress. I mean, if you play Kingdom Hearts, if you play Devil May Cry or Bayonetta or any other action game, having enemies being able to freely move around and attack you is very stressful, especially when you're trying to dodge those attacks, trying to maybe build up some sort of mana gauge so you can fire off a magic spell or some sort of high-powered technique. That in itself is stressful. And again, I'm not saying, Final Fantasy VII itself, ATB and everything, action is constantly flowing, but you're seeing that you're picking out the commands you want to be executed, and so are your enemies, basically. So while that has stress in itself, it won't be as stressful as an action-oriented setting where everyone can move around freely and commands can be done freely. Again, depending on some sort of mana gauge, something like Devil May Cry, Dante's Devil Trigger, or in Kingdom Hearts, if you run out of MP, you can't cast spells or anything like that. But as far as anyone's concerned, pretty much everything can be done freely, which in a sense is still stressful. Enemies can do anything freely, you can do anything freely. All you have to do is make sure you dodge attacks and strike back when you can. But Nomura said he wants to try and make everything strategic anyway. He wants to make sure that while this is an action game, you can still work some sort of strategy into it. We'll see how that works, but I don't know. What about the elements of the original battle system? Nomura, in the end, it's based on Final Fantasy VII. So elements like the ATB gauge and limit breaks will appear with new ways to be used. Please look forward to how this game will evolve through the remake. So basically that's kind of a nothing answer. All he's saying is that limit breaks and the ATB gauge is still going to be there, but he pretty much refuses to say anything about it, which I can't blame him on. It's early on, they want to give too much away, so we have to wait to see what the final product is going to be. Will the story be adjusted at all? Nomura, in addition to delving into these episodes more deeply, we're preparing a number of mechanics and such. To those who played the original version will know the important parts and understand the story from the beginning to the end. Also for these people, I hope they can be surprised once again. Cute to say. I don't want the remake to end as something solely nostalgic, which I have to disagree with, but I want to get the fans of the original version excited. We'll be making adjustments to the story with this thought in mind. So, kind of what I've always assumed is, I always kind of assumed Square would be making very small adjustments to the story. Tetsuya Nomura did state that he didn't want the game to be a copy-paste remake of the original Final Fantasy VII, which that's pretty much what everyone wants. I mean, if people said it for years, you can just copy and paste the remake, no one would complain. It'll be the same awesome game we've always known. Updated graphics, maybe tweak the material a little bit, make it work a little better. Not that I found anything wrong with it, but there's always something people will complain about the original. Maybe I don't know. Maybe change it. This is one of the things I think they're going to change though. That maybe everyone knows about Vincent and Yuffie. They were optional characters in the original game, but they got popular enough to the point that Vincent got his own solo game on PS2, Doja Cerberus, which was an okay game. I had it for a little while, gave it to a friend of mine because I didn't like it anymore, but you know what? I kind of do want to go back through it. I don't know. It was an okay third-person game, but the story itself was kind of not bad, but I guess could have been done better. Doja Cerberus was kind of one of those games that you hack from the beginning just to get all the best stuff. I haven't actually played for my PS2, and I will work on getting a new copy of that game, and I'm probably just going to hack it, honestly, just get all the best stuff. That is very much cheating, but you know what? It wasn't that good of a game to begin with. But, but that's beside the point. I'm going off on a tangent again. My point is, Yuffie and Vincent were all very popular even now, and people know who they are. They were optional characters before, but my guess is that Square is going to change things so that they're more part of the story. You get Yuffie in the original game by when you go through was it the Materia Cave, I think? After you get past the Midgard Zalem, you go through the cave, and then the other half of the continent. Yeah, basically what it is. I'm trying to think. Okay, yeah. So any forest you come to, you have a chance to encounter Yuffie, and if you defeat, she's labeled as Mysterious Ninja, and if you defeat her, you go through this whole rigmarole of trying to recruit her to your party. You have to pick the right commands, responses to her. Also, be careful that you don't open up your menu or even save the game at the little save point right there, because if you do, you'll fuck up. She'll steal some of your gil and then run off. But besides that, any forest you walk into anywhere on any disc 1, disc 2, disc 3, you can run into Yuffie and recruit her at any point in the game. So my guess is that maybe when you walk into a forest, or maybe even after your first random encounter in after you get past the Midgard Zalem, they'll force you into fighting Yuffie. She'll automatically be recruited to your party regardless, and they'll walk into the story better that way. Maybe you even have to go to Wutai as part of the story to try and resolve things with her. And Vincent, again, he's optional too, but considering his relationship with Lucrezia, Sephiroth's mother, spoiler alert, they'll probably work him into the story better. They'll probably force you to go back to Nibelheim for some reason, go to Shinra Mansion for some reason, go through all the stuff you need to do to get the key, to get to the basement, to get to Vincent and all that stuff. They'll probably work that into the story, which is fine. That's probably what people want, honestly. Even though keeping them optional isn't a bad thing, making them a more integral part of the experience would probably be very good. I also assume that Square is going to probably put in better foreshadowing for Advent Children and probably have some callbacks to Before Crisis and Crisis Core. Maybe have Sissany, who shows up in both Before Crisis, which focuses on the Turks themselves, and Crisis Core, which focuses on Zack. Maybe have her show up in the game somehow, maybe a small cameo or something. And again, have better foreshadowing for Advent Children. Maybe mention the Remnants somehow, or maybe some sort of, I don't know, maybe have some sort of, maybe elaborate on the whole reunion thing a little more, and have it a little more open-ended, so that doorway for the Remnants and Advent Children to kind of walk in, it's a little more seamless, so than that as random. But they're gonna consider that it was a movie that serves as a sequel to a game that came out 7 years, I think, was prior. They're gonna have to make some sort of concessions. They had to try to work in a new story anyway, so I don't know. It'll be good though. That's what I'm thinking of. They'll make Yuffie and Vincent more integral to the story. They'll put in better foreshadowing for Advent Children and callbacks to Crisis Core and before Crisis. Not too many big things, but that's probably some of the small things they could do. Now real quick before I go, one of the reasons I was glad I slept on this story, on the whole remake thing, and the more news about it rather, is because recently Square has announced that Part 1 of the multi-part release for the remake is coming. It's finished, and it's coming a lot sooner than we thought it was. Again, this is from Gematsu. Sorry, translated from Famitsu. I think. Was it from Famitsu? Yeah, from Famitsu. More information. So part one of this remake is finished. It's gonna come out who knows when. Again, we saw it as in that original trailer for the bombing mission. English dubbing is already done for, which is very surprising. Which means they could have been done a long time ago and no one knew about it, but they have it. So anyway, the first part of the remake is finished, and additional pieces of information have been given to us. They want who wrote this? They want to delve further into Biggs, Wedge, and Jesse, the three members of Avalanche you meet in the original game. Biggs and Wedge are recurring characters in the Final Fantasy series, which are obvious references to Star Wars. Biggs, Darklighter, and Wedge Antilles. They were part of the Rebel Alliance along with Luke. That's a big deal. And Jesse is, for all intents and purposes, a woman. Every team has to have at least one girl on it, or at least Avalanche's case two, Tifa and Jesse. Personally, I didn't care much about Biggs and Wedge, even before I got way farther into the game and everything happened with them. I didn't care about them honestly because you do the bombing mission with them, you go right to Avalanche's HQ with them. Nothing much happens with them. I didn't care about them. Eventually, they kind of show up to the side of the story, and everything happens with the main characters. So them, I don't care about. I mean, I'm not against delving into them a little more. Maybe I'll end up caring about them a little more. I probably won't, but that's something they're gonna do. They have an idea about the number of installments that will be released, but they're not on the stage where they can say anything. That's something I meant to mention. There are some people out there who think that maybe Square is going to do release the game in 3 parts, reminiscent of the original game, Disc 1, Disc 2, Disc 3. So maybe Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 for the remake. If they did that, that would be kind of cool, I guess. But I think I still wait for the entire thing to be pushed out. Let's see. They're not talking about online right now. Why would they, though? I mean, what could you put online for? I mean, I guess maybe the chocobo races could be done online, but what else could you do online for Final Fantasy VII? I don't online right now, which kind of implies that there will be some sort of online feature of the game. All right, but I don't see what you could really put online unless you're gonna add some new big mini game. And then they did that. That'll make me think again. So you guys could release this game. You guys had to release this game in multiple parts because you didn't want to cut anything out, but you had the time to make this whole new big online mini game for it, right? Okay, sure, that makes sense. Or maybe there'll be some sort of scoreboard. Maybe the chocobo races in the Battle Square or something, in the Wonder Square. Oh, I hate the Wonder Square. I tried doing the Wonder Square recently to try and get one Aerith's weapons. You can only get using battle points that you earn from the Wonder Square. No, I'm sorry, the Speed Square, rather. You know, that on-rail shooter that you're doing on that roller coaster? One of Aerith's weapons can be gotten from the prize, as a prize, but only from the Speed Square. Fuck that goddamn minigame. And unless there's an actual trophy that involves that somehow in the remake, I'm staying far the fuck away from it. The Battle Square itself is... No, that's fun, actually. The Battle Square is very fun, even with all the handicaps they give you. The scenario of the first part up until its ending is already complete. I just said that already. They're getting technological assistance from the Kingdom Hearts team with Unreal Engine 4 since they've been using it with Kingdom Hearts 3. That's disappointing to me. Square originally was developing Kingdom Hearts 3 using their own unique game engine, which is something a lot of developers do nowadays, especially Japan. I think Metal Gear Solid 5 was running on a modified version of the Fox engine. And Final Fantasy Versus 13 up to its conversion to Final Fantasy 15 has been running on 3 separate game engines. One unique to Final Fantasy 15, one for lighting, and one for environment. So, but again, I think that's all changed now. But that aside, for Kingdom Hearts 3, they weren't working on an original game engine for it. It was working on its original game engine, but Square decided to scrap that and use Unreal Engine 4, I guess, to help speed along development. That's fine, I guess, as long as the game turns out fine, but it's disappointing. Final Fantasy 13 ran its own original game engine, Crystal Tools, formerly known as the White Engine, and originally Agita 13 and Versus 13 were going to run on that same game engine, but again, those plans changed as developments progressed. But Cloud's hallucination, scenes will be more meaningful. I guess they mean if you looked at the bombing mission trailer, when Cloud hallucinated. No. They might mean the parts in the game when Cloud's unconscious and he's hearing voices in his head. That's probably what they mean. I was thinking about the parts in the game where like the screen flashed white for a second. You kind of playing the game. You kind of think, well, what was that? Like for instance, when you meet Reno for the first time and Cloud is about to talk to him, he kind of stops for a second. He sees Reno, stops for a second and says, "Your screen flashes white," and he's like, "Yeah, well, you're with the Turks." You see that for the first time, you're thinking, well, what was that? Is the game buggy or something? Why did the screen just flash white? And then in the bombing mission trailer, the screen flashes again. You see Cloud kind of hold his face for a second because like maybe his head hurts. He's getting a headache or something. Like memories are starting to pour into him for a second. That's what I thought they were talking about. But maybe I'm thinking maybe they're talking about when he's unconscious and he hears voices in his head. That's probably what they mean. Or maybe they're talking about both. Or maybe they're talking about when the screen flashes white and it's Cloud trying to think. Either way, as for the cast, they're continuing plans with the voice actors from Advent Children, but there are some that still haven't been offered yet. Red the 13th only made a cameo appearance, so his voice is likely to be changed. I don't remember Georgia Cerberus that much. I never beat the game. Did Red the 13th even talk in that game? I don't know. Also, yeah, he only had one speaking line in Advent Children. He was played by Liam O'Brien in the English dub, who plays Gaara in Naruto and Ukitake in Bleach. He also played Ashura in Ashura's Wrath. Yeah, because I think that was a cameo. I mean, I guess you can recast him, I suppose. One line in Advent Children, I don't even know if he talked in Georgia Cerberus. I was talking about the Japanese voice actor. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. But that's good, though. Like, I can't really imagine anyone else besides Steve Burton playing Cloud and Bo Billingsley playing Barrett, or even Steve Blum playing Vincent. They've been playing those characters since they were first voiced, and really, I couldn't go back to excuse me, I couldn't go to anyone else playing them. Although it will be interesting to hear Steve Burton playing a very enthusiastic Cloud. I mean, Kingdom Hearts 2, Advent Children, Dissidia, Cloud's been a little melancholy, kind of slow speaking. It's going to be very interesting to hear Steve Burton try to play a Cloud who's upbeat, who's saying these suave things, or at least that kind of come off as suave in text form, and being very heartfelt and sad over a few things happening in the game. That's going to be interesting to hear. I hope he can do it. I'm confident he can do it, but it's going to be kind of weird to hear him do it. Separate from Limit Breaks, there was another unique system. They can't show it yet, but it will be. Jesus, who wrote this? But it will be different depending on the player's fighting style. Well, we'll see about that. Tetsuya Nomura did say there's something else to look forward to. Separate from Limit Breaks, was going to be included into the game. We'll see what that is. Hopefully it'll be good. I mean, can't hurt, I guess, right? Nothing has been decided about guarding yet. Cover material. I don't know. And the whole the evasiveness stat in the original game that you see a lot in a lot of RPGs. Evasiveness determines like how you can dodge attacks. I don't know. Overall, I'm looking forward to the remake. I'm not thrilled by everything they're gonna change, especially this. Like, even if I could get behind the whole action RPG scenario for the game, the fact that they're doing this multi-part release, I will never get behind that. I will never get behind that. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in, I suppose. But that's all my thoughts on it right now. Tell me what you think. When new news comes, I'll give my thoughts on that, I suppose. Well, when it's a sufficient chunk of it, I'm not gonna give my opinion on like, hey, they changed Cloud's hair back to how it was in the original game. That's fine. I'm not gonna do a video on that. They do that. I'm not gonna worry about that. But any big pieces of news that come out, I'll try and give my opinion on that. The first part of the remake is finished. I guess that's gonna come out maybe next year. Final Fantasy 15 will not be coming out until after March because Square is holding a press conference in March of 2016 to discuss the game. So it's definitely coming out next year, but not until after March. So I'm guessing Kingdom Hearts 3 may not come out until 2017, and maybe the first part of Final Fantasy 7 remake will not come out until 2017, I suppose. I mean, there are a lot of fans who are hoping that the remake will come out on time for the 20th anniversary of the original release of the game. Or even if it does come out next year, I'll bet that still ruins it though. I mean, even if the first part of the remake comes out next year and they keep staggering the releases until it culminates on the actual anniversary of the original Final Fantasy VII, it still won't be the same though because we didn't get the whole package together. I still see the problem is with working on the game meticulously and make sure everything works right out the gate rather than trying to rush the game out piece by piece, which is what they're doing. I don't know. I've talked enough. That's my thoughts on it. I don't know. Anyone else watching this video, tell me what you think. I'll talk to you later.